Hello, everybody. When the DFS gods give you lemons, you get this bread. Tonight, your broskies in basketball are hitting the early Friday slate. Recording live from somewhere, this is One and Done.
Get out the insurance cards, get out the copays. The office is open, my friends. Brought to you by drroto.com.
It's time once again for everybody to come aboard that Green Screens Media train. Welcome to One and Done, powered by drroto.com. I am your humble host, me. My name is Jay Heinrich. You can find me on Twitter, X, whatever, at Dr. William Cannon. I am the conductor of the aforementioned Green Screens Media train, and we are going to get to two of the best in the business now, including the captain of the Green Screens Media ship, El Capitan himself. You find that man on X at MC Holland 34, the OG Money Mike. That's Mr. Mike Holland. What it do, baby?
I'm ready, boys. It's feast week. I'm ready to feast. Had a little tease this early afternoon window, finishing 7th and 8th in the big jam. Thought I was going to get there. United slate, not so much. May have gambled a little too much on Juwan Roberts being out. And, of course, he played, so there went most of my night. But, yeah, I'm ready, man. We actually got a fun slate to talk about. We thought we were going to have the late slate, but, yeah, we got an early three-gamer, and that was a lot of fun today, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Just throw a little curveball sometimes. You know, you don't always get the night slate. You know, those games are not dropped yet. Tournament stuff going on. So we're going to bring you the early slates with my guy who is last in the intros, but is also first in your hearts. Find him in those Twitter streets at FantasyNav. He's Eric the Blue and the Baron of Bread of Green Screens Media. That's Eric Romov. What's happening?
Man, as the Baron of Bread, following your lead, life gives you lemons. You make some bread. I guess we're making lemon loaf tonight, boys. Right? Like we don't have the full main slate out because the tournaments are throwing the clocks off a little bit. But like Mike mentioned, looking at this three-gamer, there's some pretty intriguing games. So gonna go a little bit deeper on these games than we typically do. That's gonna get you guys all laced up with some of our best plays for those large field GPPs. Might sprinkle in a little prize pick action, even if we don't. That'll be on the YouTube channel later. And as has become tradition here in the DFS version of the One and Done show, Cam hopping in, C Thuggin, hitting us with the claps, ready to get back out there and see some green screens himself. Cam, appreciate you swinging through. Awesome to see you posting all those dubs out there too. You've been crushing it.
No doubt about it. Cam's been crushing it. Mike's been crushing it. Eric's been crushing it. I've been getting up in there a little bit myself. You know, nothing like these guys, but you know, we're doing okay with them green screens. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons tonight. Hop in the live chat like our guy Cam did, our guy C Thuggin, and make sure you follow all of us on X. Make sure you follow our guy at The Real Napier, Nate C Hustle, as he is affectionately becoming these days. If you have a better nickname for our guy Nate, drop it in the chat. But for right now, Nate C. Hustle is absolutely the leader in the clubhouse. All right, gentlemen and ladies and everybody else watching around the world, I'm going to go ahead, hop right into this three-game slate. We got a 1K to first coming in tomorrow. Everything starts at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. East Coast 11:30. So if you're out in Cali watching us tonight, got to get those lineups set by 8:30 in the morning. So it's a good thing you're up. Yeah, it's a good thing you're with us tonight to do this. Got three games here. Some totals that we might not normally pay a lot of attention to, but when there's only three matchups, you kind of got to talk about the 128-point total game, which is North Texas against LSU. Then we got St. John's and Dayton and Miami and Georgia. So let's have our slate overview here with two of the best in the business. Going to start with Mike. I mean, obviously not a typical slate that we cover here on One and Done. We're going a little bit of a smaller look at it, but But yeah, there's still different strategies and different ways to approach it.
Yeah, 3 drastically different totals. You got the little total, the middle, the mid, right, and then the old high tier total there. So, looking at it just from an overview, I mean, there are some stud forwards that can put up some fantasy points, but there's also a ton of value. So I think it's going to take a pretty nice score. Every game has a KenPom spread of 3 points or less. So that should make for a lot of fun. And then there are these holiday tournaments, man. We're going to have these, all the way through the end of next week. So it's going to be an awesome time. And yeah, we're going to talk through these 3 games and see what we can piece together and give you a core at the very end. Eric, what say you on this slate here?
Yeah, short slates in general are kind of tricky, right? Like the day will be won based on how you mix and match those lineups, right? So one of the ways that you can get different in your overall texture is overloading, right? You can go in and jam 4 or 5 guys out of that Miami Georgia game that has the highest total, right? That those players individually are going to have a lot of exposure, but having 4 or 5, maybe even 6 of them is a way to get different from the field. And then you got to balance out with the other 2, right? Like how much of that North Texas game with LSU do you really want to get into 128 point total, right? Dayton and St. John's, it feels like it's setting up as kind of the land of the pivot, right? Getting into some of these guys that aren't going to be quite as popular as really everyone presumably shifts a lot of their focus into that Miami Georgia game. So it's going to be a fun one. It's definitely one that you want to fire a few extra builds in, because you're going to have to find a couple of ways to get unique when if you're wanting to see yourself at the top of that pay chart.
Got to get creative. Like 3 games, there's not a lot of wiggle room. Like you're still plenty of value to find, right? But if you're paying attention and you're watching shows like One and Done, as you should be, getting ready for your slate, we're going to talk on some of these strategies that I think they may be popular. So having to play multiple lineups and get that big total and get a little bit different sometimes might take that to take down the 1K to first tournament. We're going to start. Oh wait, do we got any more comments here before we get rolling? I got Corey back. Corey's back. Yeah. Got to watch some of that tournament today. Exciting for this early slate. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, these are some awesome matchups. Like, just look at the spreads on these games. Like, these have been coming down to the last minute. We saw Nate Santos hit a big shot for Dayton to win it. So, and then Soriano with the key free throws down the stretch, win that game over North Texas. So, yeah, man, these games are going to be fun. It's going to make even the 3-game slate. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and when these totals are this close, when these spreads are this close, like they're going to get. The stars are going to be playing the whole game. Everybody's going to be running and gunning until the last minute and racking up those, even if it's rebounds or steals or assists, whatever it is, and it can swing up a tournament like this, in the last 2 minutes of a game, just because it's close like this, So that's why this is so fun. The ups and downs, the highs and lows. Let's start with the lows in terms of totals here. We're going to start with North Texas and LSU. LSU is a 2-point favorite here for our showcase games. We like to do our showcases. What we talk. We only got 3 games, but
everyone's a showcase.
It's our showcase. You get a showcase, and you get a showcase. LSU 2-point favorites with that 128-point total projected score of 65-63 in favor of the Tigers. But we're not going to start with LSU. We're going to start with the Green Wave. Or the Wave, who are they? The Mean Green, the Mean Green. Yeah, it's not Tulane. We're not down in Louisiana. We're a little bit farther north than that. Yeah, we're close there, but that's the Mean Green. That's right. 141st offensive efficiency, 59th defensive efficiency, and 360th in tempo. This is why this total is dragged down a little bit here, but obviously, a little bit of a pace-up spot for them. Not much with LSU, but going to start with Mike here. Obviously not a lot of high prices here in terms of being like the king of the slate or anything like that, but a little bit of I guess it's just. How do you approach a North Texas team like this when there's not just that one player that stands out?
Yeah, I got two ways I'm going to approach this. And the funny thing about this game is it probably has each side has the best value play, which is hilarious. But first guy I want to talk about, and the guy that could have won me the G today, Reuben Jones, 7K. Started off today with a couple of early fouls and went ahead and missed his first 4 shots. Not that I was paying that much attention. They got his 3rd foul in the first half. Anyway, we're on to a new slate. But with Jones, man, like he can reach down in there and get you a 30 spot at 7K. So he's got a 26% usage rate, a 24% shot rate, a 32% assist rate, 36% from 3. I mean, I really like him as a kind of a different piece. I mean, he's not going to be owned at all. I think Scott was 4-1 in ownership to Jones on this last slate. So I expect him to be, down at the bottom again in ownership, maybe 10%. I think he was 15 today. But, yeah, when he can shoot threes and get assists, I mean, I like it. It's a tight game. He should play he's been playing massive minutes today. He didn't get as many because of the foul trouble. But they're probably going to play 37, 38 minutes if he's not in foul trouble, which you really like. And if he just gets somewhere near a fantasy point per minute, it's going to be a nice score. So solid play there. But the guy that I really, really, really want to target is going to be CJ Nolan. He's 4,200. Probably the top price adjusted play on this team. He's played 3 games. I don't know why DraftKings has him down for 2 games played. He did play the first game of the year where he dropped an 18 fantasy point spot as well. So he hasn't been below 18 yet, a 26% usage rate, 25% shot rate, 13% assist rate, and shooting 43% from 3. So he has the pedigree as a former Sooner, transferred in the offseason. The one thing I do worry about is the minutes have decreased each game. He was at 31 in the first game, 26 and 21 today. So a little concerning there. And those minutes have actually kind of gone to Jason Edwards. He is 4K as well. He's put up 15 fantasy points, 7 and 23 in the first 3 games. His usage rate is massive. He's a 30% usage rate and a 29% shot rate. But he's a shot-dependent player. He hasn't shot well from 3, which is kind of scary if he's already putting up a 15 and a 23. What happens when he shoots 50% from 3 one of these games? He shoots 3 for 6, and now all of a sudden he's at, that 15 goes to a 23, and then the 23 goes to a 28-30. So the minutes are kind of all over the place. So while I like Nolan a lot, I am a little hesitant about Edwards, and Nolan I think today was 33%. So I expect him to be popular again. It's not like he completely burned anybody. So I figured it'll probably be in the 20s and 30s again. So I don't mind probably maybe mix and matching, not on every lineup, but I have some pretty good exposure. These guys will probably make 50 to 60% of my lineup, so I'll probably rotate, splitting them down the middle. Eric, what are your thoughts? What about Aaron Scott up there at the top, man? I don't know if I can pay 8K for him.
Yeah, looking at the rest of this this mean green side, it's not great. Aaron Scott, like you mentioned, 7.9K. Went out and put a 28 spot up and got a $300 increase. So, I do think that will have an effect on his rostership tomorrow, right? You mentioned that he was about 4x that of Reuben Jones at around 40%, right? So maybe that comes down a bit. I do expect he'll still be somewhat popular, especially on these short slates. Having a guard forward eligible player is of value, but I mean, for him, the story is really the upside, right? Like super shot dependent guy. He's shooting 57% from 3 right now. He's only taken 14 attempts. So, maybe that comes down a little bit. Maybe he sustains it for another game. The thing with me and with Scott specifically is like you're talking about these, super low total games, and a guy that needs to score a lot to get there to pay off his 8K price tag is probably not the best play on the board. But I mean, there are limited opportunities to get to the upside that he offers, right? He's got a 44 on the records already this season. So he can get there. We'll see how his ownership shakes out. And then the other name that we didn't mention here, going down to 5.4K, Robert Allen, the forward. the thing with him, he's put up a 23. Like, you don't mind that at 5.4K, right? He's got a 15 sandwiched in there before he opened, or rather, following an opening of 22. The thing with him is, like, the minutes are super limited, right? Like, he's out there for not a whole lot of run. His rates aren't really anything to write home about. He rebounds the ball well, right? He's got a 41% combined rebound rate, but ultimately, like, he's going to have a lot of things go right in order to pay off that price tag. And I'm not sure that he offers much upside beyond just getting to value. So not exactly someone that is a clear priority for me.
When you talk about Scott, for me, it's like when there's these early games in the season like this bunched together, I'm a big fan of riding that momentum. If you're seeing the ball well early on in the season like this, I think Scott is even at 7.9K is a super interesting play there. And yeah, Nolan's, hate the
if he knew he was going to play 25 to 30 minutes, right? Like,
exactly. Hate to see the minutes drop in there, right?
Yeah, that's kind of scary. But looks like we got a bunch of people jumping in the chat, so we appreciate that. Myron is back. Yeah, Myron, we're in the same way. We waited till the last minute. We wanted to give you guys some plays from the evening slate, but that's how it goes with the holiday tournaments, man. We're just, all these games getting played real late. They're just not going to put those out until really late tonight. So we're going to cover the early, man. We're still going to have some fun here. And then Mason's in here. I don't know if we've talked to Mason before. Maybe we have, maybe we haven't. Nebraska's 4-0. They are 4-0. So Rink Mass doing his thing, right? Tomonaga's back. So, yeah, fun team to watch. We'll see.
What's up, Mason? Thanks for stopping in.
10 plays starts. And then who we got? Mama Rocks Homestead. I really appreciate all y'all do. You guys are amazing. All right. Well, we appreciate that. Love the picture there. Yeah. Welcome aboard.
Yeah.
Dang. Thanks for dropping that in the chat. For real, man. That's awesome. Thanks, everybody, for hopping in there. Awesome. If we see you hanging out in there watching in the lobby, why don't you go ahead and drop a hello or a chunk of the deuce or whatever fire emojis like Mike likes to do. He likes to
eat him up, Mike.
Come on, Mike. Come on. There it is. Thank you, sir. All right. There we go. Eat him up. But yeah, so other side of this game here is, of course, LSU. And KenPom Metrics has them 78th offensive efficiency, 66th defensive efficiency, 207th in tempo. So now we definitely understand why the total on this game is so low with these two teams' tempos. Going to start again with Mike here. Again, like I kind of expected in my mind that these prices for the LSU players would be more inflated than the North Texas ones at the top anyway. But it's the opposite of that. We're paying less for LSU's what are considered their better players.
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Wright, he's the most expensive guy. He's $6,800. Well, I mean, technically Jalen Cook is their most expensive guy, but he didn't get your waiver. So we'll see you next year at 8,800 on the holiday slate. But with Wright, I mean, he's been okay. The usage rate's okay. His shot rate's pretty good, 25%. Shipped in a couple of assists and some steals. He's only shooting 20% from three. I'm going to be attacking a lot of these guys that aren't shooting well, usually the first few games, because obviously it's going to balance out at some point. I don't know that I can get to Wright in this slate, just because there's a couple of the guys below him that I want to get to, and he burned a lot of people today, put up a 21 spot. That's not going to get it done around this price point. He's kind of just an okay play, right? Like, I don't think you need to go crazy with any of these like more expensive options on either side. What I'm looking at is going to be Will Baker, our boy Jay. Will the Thrill Baker, man. The
well-traveled Will Baker.
Yeah, well-traveled Will Baker. He's 4K, dropped a 31 piece, almost won me the tournament. 27% usage, 26% shot rate. 30% combined rebounding rate, 9% block rate, shooting 50% on 8 attempts from 3. Yeah, he's going to be super popular. Phenomenal rates. I mean, he's an experienced big. Like, you see that 7 in there. Like, he had some turnover issues and some things just didn't quite go well in that Nichols game. They obviously dropped that game, which was a shock. Just an ugly, mucked up game. But yeah, I'm going to be going right back to the well. He dropped $200 in price, and I mean, he's going to be super high owned, right? So it's going to be kind of annoying. I'll probably try to get away from him in a few other lineups. I'll probably go to Terrell Ward. When I do that, and I'm talking maybe 70-30, 80-20 maybe. But with Ward at 3,400, the problem with LSU is that they play a lot of guys too, so it's kind of annoying, right? That's why Baker has a little bit of risk to him. But Ward, he's 3,400, so you love that he's almost a basement price. And he's got usage rates in the 20, shot rates 24%, shooting 46% from three. I mean, he is the direct pivot to Baker, or from Baker. So he has 20 fantasy point upside. You'll take that at 3,400. So, I wish there was maybe another play on this side, but there's not really anybody else. Like Trey Hannibal, he's out there, but he just doesn't do anything. Just a terrible shot. I don't ever play guys with shot rates under 15%, unless they have like a massive assist rate or like DeJuan Harris. I told you guys the other day, man, he was went nuts in that game. Anytime Kansas plays in a pace-up or like a game where it's going to be close, like he's going to do damage. So, but Trey Hannibal, like he's just kind of meh. Eric, like, are you riding the well here with Baker and Ward, or are you playing any of these other guys that I didn't mention?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys that you mentioned are the ones to really make a point of emphasis, right? Like for the rest of this roster, like Carlos Stewart at 5.8K, like the price is fine. He's a guy that's again super shot dependent. He is not shooting well from deep, right? So to your point about firing up these guys that have started off a little cold, like there is some upside there, but I don't know if that upside is coming in a game where they're playing against the 360th team in tempo, right? Like just the volume's probably not going to be there. Not all that interested in Stewart. Looking down the rest of the roster, like you got Jalen Reed here. He's also around that 5K range. The story with him is he's super volatile, right? Like he's got some mid-20s on the board so far. The floor goes much lower than that. He can obviously reach back and get a little bit higher. The issue with him is his production goes as his minutes go, right? Like he's kind of hovering around the low 20s right now. When he's out there, his rates are pretty strong, 27% usage. You like the 27% combined rebound rate, 7% block is fantastic. The price pump doesn't make me feel great, but with Reed in particular, like you're signing up for a roller coaster, right? He can take you either, in either direction. And then, lastly, like if we want to talk about Fontaine, like 4.6K, it's just, this is a guy who's got a 9% shot rate, right? Like to follow your rule, like he just doesn't have enough ways to get there. Maybe if he's like a mid-price guy, you might splash him around, but in the mid 4Ks, there's so many better places to go. So, these are the guys that are going to be out there. Like you mentioned, Coach McMahon plays a pretty wide rotation. So all these guys are going to see minutes, but there's really a pretty short list of ones that need to be prioritized. And before we move off this game, these comments, they stay popping. Mitch hopping in, giving a little what up.
What, man?
Corey's talking about the hot hand today. Ward looking pretty good with the stroke, and then Thomas popping in. I'm not sure if you've seen Thomas before either. A little bit of a Tyler Kolek take. Best point guard in the country. Mike, I know it's not in your nature to give Marquette and Shaka Smart any love. What is your take on Tyler Kolek?
Yeah, I mean, he's the best point guard in the country for sure, no doubt about it. He made our top 5 list was four centers and a point guard,
and then a point guard.
Yeah. So I agree with the Kolek take there. He looked great the other day at 8,300. Wish I had played him.
No doubt about it. Mitt, Thomas, everybody, thanks for checking in, dropping a line in those comments as you are or should be wont to do. Going to move off of that first showcase game and move on now to the second showcase game. Like and subscribe. Hit those buttons as we get into St. John's and Dayton. 139 point total. That's that mid-range total that Mike was talking about earlier. Dayton are 1-point favorites. 70 to 69 are the implied totals. But no, we will not start with Dayton. We will start with the St. John's Red Storm, a team that we talked an awful lot about last year on our DFS shows. And obviously now the only person still hanging around from that team is Joel Soriano. And basically it's him and like 14 new guys, which is fine. It's good. And, they're playing some good basketball up to this point. But Eric, how should we approach the Red Storm from this DFS perspective on such a tiny slate?
Yeah, you said we'll start with the Red Storm, and this game will start with Joel Soriano, like you mentioned, right? 9.2K, pretty lofty price tag. He's got a 39 in the last game. He's got a 47 to open the season, so definitely capable to pay it off. He's always a great play. Omir's on the slate, right? So like, I'm not sure, how much people will go to both. Maybe that kind of draws his ownership down a bit. I'm expecting him to be fairly popular, but maybe not the most popular pay up option on the board. One that we'll definitely have to watch, but we'll rotate around for sure. After that, the supporting cast, as you put it, Jay, Dennis Jenkins is someone of note, right? Like 7.3K is a really good number for him. He's coming off of a 32 spot. He's got a 38 to open the season. You would think that he's going to be pretty popular at this price tag, right? Like he can definitely, reach back and get you to 40. His rates are phenomenal. 30% usage, 29% shot, 30% assist, and chipping a steal here or there. Shooting above the Heinrich line, 37% from three. So definitely like how this one sets up for Jenkins, although he will be popular. And then, for me, the other name that really pops out is none other than Jordan Dingle, 6.6K. He is, presumably the direct pivot off of Jenkins. Another guy that's super shot dependent, right? Like there's a big game brewing here soon. He's obviously going to have to see it go through the hoop in order to make that come. But, the price is probably a little too high for him, right? Like if he catches a cold streak, if these are rimming out, he can put up more of these 8, 12, kind of 18-point games that we've seen from him to start the season. If you want to rotate him in the GPP pool, it's fine, but it is not without its risks.
It's tough, and then we talk about chasing the game log. I'm running away from this one, right? Like 8, 12, and 18. It's not what I'm looking for at 6.6K. But it's not like we haven't seen Jordan Dingle put the ball in the hoop. I mean,
yeah.
What was he top 3 in the country last season? I think he was second in the country.
Yeah, Penn.
And so I mean, like, it's coming, guys and gals hanging out with us, right? Mike, a couple more options here for St. John's and Coach Pitino, including, again, like we saw earlier, the best players on one team all be below 6,500, and now we've got 2 guys over 8.6K.
Yeah, and I unfortunately like this guy way more than I should, and it hasn't really worked out in the last 2 games, but I know that it's coming because he's a direct pivot off Soriano, and he also has the guard forward eligibility, and that is Chris, Mr. Harvard himself, Ledlum. Fantastic rates, 20% shot rate, 30% combined rebounding rate, 12% assist rate, 3% block, 5% steal, 38% from 3 on 7 attempts. So he did put a 46 up in that first game. I'm not chasing it. That Michigan game, they got blown out in the second half. A little bit of foul trouble there, and also just couldn't buy some easy ones. So. I'm gonna go to the well here. I don't think you guys should go crazy, as much as I am. But I'm gonna try to drop him into some of these lineups in the large field, for sure. So I do like Ledlum. I feel like he can reach back and give you a 40. And really, like, there's only gonna be 2 or 3 guys that reach back and get to a 40. So let's say he goes for 41 and Soriano goes for a 29. you are going to have massive leverage on the field. It's exactly what happened with Dayton. We'll talk about them here in just a minute. But, these 3-game slates, they tend to do that. So I'll be going to Ledlum. I'll be going to Soriano, Danis Jenkins a lot. And then Glenn Taylor, like, he's on the floor, but no usage. I mean, 14% usage, 15% shot rate. Like, there's not even a last man in reason why you should go here. And I'll say this, like, if you get to a total right and it's like, oh, this guy starts and, like, maybe he'll do something, it's like, no, like, go and look at the rates, because just because he starts and just because – he's at that price point, you may want to get away from the rest of your lineup because it's just not going to work. I don't know that he'll put up 20 fantasy points at all this year. Maybe that's a hot take just based on the start of the season. But he's like the 5th option on this team. And I don't even think that, just because he's the 5th option because he's in the starting 5, but really he's like the 8th option on this team. So, I'm going to go with the 2 big dogs and Jenkins, and that's what I did today. I played 10 lineups. I put Jenkins on 4 of them. I put Soriano on 3 of them. I put Ledlum on 3 of them, and I watched my 2 with Jenkins finish 7th and 8th because he was the one, he put up a nice score. Soriano got up there too, but had some forwards that got up there with him at lower price points.
Mike's telling you, I'm going to be on Ledlum more than you should, because Mike's tired of doing that 8th and 9th. He doesn't want y'all to be having Ledlum in that lineup. I think he's in for a big game, honestly. 8.6K, it might be hard to pull that trigger, but man, I think of all the higher price players, I feel Ledlum has something brewing for tomorrow. Of course, more comments. What's going on tonight? It's blowing up in the live chat.
Ooh,
Corey,
talk about that
Soriano versus Santos will be good to watch. Yeah, we will. That's definitely no doubt about it there. Corey dropping back in. Mama Rocks Homestead played a ton of Jenkins today. He was 40% in most contests.
Yeah,
in lower stakes.
25. I think it's 25% in the to $10. So a little bit less. Like in the Ledlum call there. Yeah, you guys don't play him. I'll play him. Nah. But to Corey's comment, I think you got the wrong guy there, man. It's going to be the Soriano versus Deron Holmes show. But yeah, we'll move over to the Dayton side for sure.
Let's do that right now, Eric. I'll come to you first. You can lead off with Holmes here. Dayton plays at a snail's pace, 352nd in tempo, but they're efficient when they do have the ball and on defense. So, Eric, I'll come to you and tell us about Holmes.
Yeah, this is very much so the marquee matchup with Soriano and Holmes, right? 9.7K doesn't feel super great when he's coming off of a 14, but the 2 games prior to that, 34, 37, right? Like, he can contribute in a number of different ways, right? Like, that was a big letdown with that 14 spot yesterday. The upside is definitely there, but I mean, that price is going to be hard to swallow, right? So, if we talk about some of the other guys on this team, like the Santos, we talk about some of the other guys in the slate, like Soriano or Omie. I don't think Holmes is going to be quite as popular. The upside's still there, right? So, like, you mix him in on a build or two, and he has that ceiling game, and you're going to be in a good position. But that is, the far less likely outcome, especially when you're paying almost 10K for him. Like I mentioned before, and like Corey alluded to, Nate Santos is pretty interesting, right? 5.6K. Rather, Nick Santos is the Santos that we're looking for. But yeah, coming in at 5.6K. Fresh off of a 37 spot here, right? So, like, big game. Expect him to be super popular on this slate, right? Like, the usage and the shot rate aren't the best, right? So, like, that makes him somewhat prone to variability, right? But like 36% combined rebound rate is fine. You like him chipping in at a 3% steal rate, shooting very well from range, right? So he'll be popular, but I wonder if he might be someone not to strike through necessarily, but maybe to try to come in underweight to the field. So Nate is someone to consider, but maybe to try to fade a little bit as we expect him to be fairly popular.
Should have trusted your gut there, Eric. You knew it was Nate. You knew Nate was the Santos we were looking for there. Mike, Bennett, Cheeks, not super expensive options here. A little bit of value at the bottom, but obviously we're gonna have to mix in some of Dayton in a lot of lineups and just picking that right cat at the right value here. So, are you interested in Bennett or Cheeks or any of these guys?
Man, I feel like they're the kind of the key to the slate. Like if you get Dayton right, I feel like you're gonna win this tournament. I am off Nate Santos because that was more of an anomaly. One, Deron Holmes is normally the guy that puts up a 37 or a 35, and people aren't going to pay 97 for it. They got burned, right? They're going to go to Santos. They think Santos is good, but he has a 13% shot rate. Was just getting everything today. And, hey, I had him like in a few lineups, but I'm not going to that well if I know that people are going to this well at a 30 to 40% clip. So, yeah, I'm off on him. Javon Bennett, kind of interesting. 7,400. That's kind of a weird price. Usage rate and shot rate are good. 36% assist rate. He's shooting a ton of threes. Like, you'd love to see it. I don't know, man. I don't know. If I played 10 lineups, maybe chip him in one. But that's about it for Bennett. Cheeks, kind of like a Santos, right? Like him and Santos had the same usage rate, almost the same shot rate, kind of similar profiles, but he's 7,100, and I don't know that I can pay for that when Bennett's 300 more. And then you have probably my two favorite plays on the team, which are value plays, Kobe Elvis and Kobe Bria. So with Elvis, with a 19% usage rate, 23% shot rate, nearly a 30% assist rate, he's only shooting 15% from three, but he's checked it up 13 times. We know he's a good shooter. I'm going to be playing him. He's a good play. He has 25 fantasy point ceiling. He's putting up 20 and 25. Yeah, there's that six spot there, but he starts hitting a couple of threes.
That little
right?
guy?
Now he's
That little guy.
Now he's hitting 5x. So kind of the same story with Bria. He gives you a $600 savings. Now he's not going to give you as much on the peripherals. Like he is more shot dependent than Elvis is, but he's shooting 45% from three. And, he's putting up close to, 20 the last two, and that's nearly 5x. I do prefer Elvis. If you kind of get to that last man in and, you're at 4,400, then I don't mind, slotting Bria in that spot. But I really want to get to Elvis. He's a pretty good play, especially with Malachi Smith being out for the season, which is unfortunate for this team. So, yeah, if you can get Dayton right tomorrow, and it's more of a one-off scenario, I don't think you can play – I'm not going to be playing two of these guys. If you can figure out the guy that's going to go 5x in this game, you are probably going to see yourself at the top of the standings.
He's already shot 23s. Like, this is I'm going to be all over this cat. And I remember not too long ago somebody saying they wish they would have played both of the low-value guys on the same team, and they might have won a grip.
Yeah,
if they would have. I think it's interesting to put Kobe and Kobe together in a couple of lineups here with this sort of value. And who knows what if they both go 5x?
Yeah,
because we've basically seen it, right? So Elvis has already had 20 and 25. So and then Bria's at 4,100, right? So he's right there with 4.5x on the last couple of games. So I mean, worth a look to me. To play both of these cats in a couple, not all the time. Not all the time. There's plenty of value to find here. So make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Show your broskies and basketball some love. Do your part in the Green Screen Media universe, and do not forget to hit that live chat. It's been on fire tonight. We definitely appreciate that. Follow everybody here on X. Follow our guy at The Real Napier. Follow us on TikTok at Get Green Screens, at Get Green Screens on X, and at One and Done CBB, all spelled out. Ooh, boom, boom, right across the screen here. Right on call. Loving it. Loving it. Make sure you smash all those follow buttons. Do your thing. For you boys, let's get now to the big total of the night. 155 points. We have Miami and Georgia, the Hurricanes, a 3-point favorites with the implied totals of 69 and 76 points. We are going to start with the favorite first this time around. That is Miami, 16th in offensive efficiency, 102nd in defensive efficiency, 120th in tempo. It's good to get out of those mid 200s and higher for a little bit. Get Miami in there, 120th. Mike, gonna go to you. Omir, 9.6K, and then all the guards, right? Like, it is what it is.
Like Shawshank.
More guards than Shawshank, right? So, Omir, and I mean, it's obviously one of the higher priced players on the slate.
Yeah, I mean, I wish there was no salary cap so I could just play all 5. But Omir, man, 9,600, like, he's going to drop a 40 spot in this game. Just massive rates. It's just so tough to lock him in when Holmes and Soriano were on the slate. But the matchup, the pace, like, just don't get into foul trouble. That's what stopped him last game from going bonkers. I think he had like 12 fantasy points in the first half and then got in foul trouble in the early second half and still finished with almost 30. So he's just a monster. Should double here pretty easily. I'm assuming his rebounding prop on Prize Picks is going to be at 10.5 or 11. Yeah, I don't know. I got to go here. Probably 60% of the time, maybe 70. I just feel really good about it. The guards that I'm more interested in, I'm not really interested in Cleveland and Pack as much as I am in my boys Poplar and Joseph. Poplar 6,700. I don't know how much I can get to him on this one because at some point, not everything is going to go in, right? Like, he is really shot dependent, but he's been making everything 70% from 3. So if regression at some point, right, he's going to be popular right at that $6,700 price tag, as well as Bensley Joseph. I like Joseph a little bit more. One, you get the $1,700 savings. Two, does a little bit more, right? Like, he's not shot dependent. Now the shot rate's only 16%, which scares me as well. But these guys are just on the floor a ton. So Miami really just plays 5 guys. The thing with Joseph is he's getting a lot of steals, blocking some shots, tossing out some assists, knocking down his open shots. He's shooting 64% from 3. So these guys are playing a little bit above their head right now, which is why I probably won't use both of them. But I do want to pair one of these guys with Omir. It is scary though, because Eric, the 2 other guys are the high usage players on this team, but the price tag is a little bit bigger. And if they get the steals and the blocks and the assist and they get all the shots, that could be kind of scary.
Yeah, it could be scary if you don't roster them and you're watching me rocket up that pay scale. Look, I mean, these are 2 guys starting with Matthew Cleveland that, arguably have some of the highest upside on the slate, because of the game they're in, also on their team, right? So, Cleveland is sitting at 8.2K. He's fresh off of a 39. He's got a 40 on the season, right? Like, one of the few guys we've talked about that can get to 40 that doesn't have a 9 in their price tag. And like you mentioned, the usage is fantastic, 20%. He's also at 20% shot. He's also at 20% combined rebound, and he's almost at 20 on assist, 18% assist rate, right? So shooting 50% from 3. I mean, he's just been so good for them, right? Like, shout out Coach Lariniega, just absolutely nailed it in the transfer portal with Cleveland coming in from FSU. And because of the price tag, because of the guys around him, right? Like, people are going to be going up to Omir. They're going to be going down to Poplar and Joseph. I don't think he's going to be rostered. So someone with that kind of upside that's going to be overlooked is always going to catch my attention. And he's not even the most overlooked man, right? Like, let's talk about Nigel Pack, the big transfer get from the year prior, 7.2K. Literally no one is going to play him because he's just in such a weird spot, right? Like, everyone's going all the way up or going all the way down. all 5 of these starters, reasonably should be in play. Pack is probably going to be the least popular of all of them. So because of that, he should be in the player pool. He is an example of someone that has started off a little cold from downtown, 27% from 3. But in the inverse of the example I gave earlier, he is on the side that's getting paced up. He's in the game that should have the highest total on the board, right? So this feels like an environment where he can get a few more going through the rim, and all of a sudden, that significant upside is in play for him as well. So, these two kind of middling starting options for the Hurricanes, they offer a ton of leverage, if nothing else.
Still blows my mind that we live in a time where Cleveland just said, nope, don't feel like being at Florida State anymore. So now I'm going to go to Miami, just like this. And this is what it is. He's quite a player.
Okay.
And I don't know, basically gotten to 5X the 2 out of the last, or 2 of the 3 games that he's played. And yeah. And Pack, obviously, get you to 4X, basically. Like you said, they play 5 guys. Somebody's going to have a big night.
Yeah, you got to have 2, right? At least 2 to win this. There's no way you can just one-off Miami and get away with it. Maybe even 3. So, yeah, it's going to be – they're going to be popular too, but getting to Cleveland and Pack is probably going to help you.
Hey, and you know how you can save some money? You can really get involved in this game and do a little 3-2, and you go up on the other side and you get the Kobe's, and then you come back. Oh, wait, no, wrong game. Sorry, wrong game.
Right game.
That's right. You think I'm not going to be playing both of those guys? You're outside your mind. All right, anyways, we hit Miami here. Now let's hit the comments as well. What do we got going on in the old live chat?
Amir's a lock. I'm from Georgia, and I know we won't have squat to stop him. There's Nafali Dante from Oregon in that first game. I remember it at 3:30 tip, had 21 rebounds. Yeah. The only thing that's going to stop Amir is foul trouble. So I say 60 to 70. But he's probably the first name I'm going to on the slate, legitimately every single time. It's going to be tough. And then Just Fans Podcast. I don't know if we've seen it before, but great show. Y'all keep it up. Thank you.
Thanks for dropping in. Appreciate that.
Popping through.
Good stuff. All right. And now, to finish up the main event. Oh, I hope we don't get popped for, I sound so much like him when I did that. It was it might get popped like YouTube violations or something like that. He is litigious.
Don't say his name. That'll be strike
litigious. 2. He is litigious, and that's what his friends say about him. So, Georgia Bulldogs, 63rd in tempo. Now we're cooking with grease. Let's do it. Let's talk about how we're going to get involved with the Bulldogs in this game. And Mike, you lead us off this time around. Where are we going with the old Bulldogs?
Oh, this is kind of the opposite of Miami. Mike White's playing everybody right now, so it's kind of annoying. Guys like Russell Shewa and Silas DeMary, I mean, they're right there at 6,100 and 5,500. I don't think you play them at all. It's kind of pointless. I feel like you could either go all the way up or all the way down on this team, especially with DeMary, coming up in price to 5,500. He's kind of in no man's land. Why would I pay that for him when Joseph is at 5,000? When the Kobe's from Dayton are low and mid 4Ks. When our boy Noland is low 4. I don't know. And it's if you play 35 minutes, then yeah, but he can't create any leverage because he's on the floor for 20 to 25 minutes. So both of those guys, it's more of a minutes thing with them. I'm a little more interested in some of the guys down at the bottom. Justin Hill, he's 4,500. He just put up a 21 spot. So with him, it's I get the price savings and the minutes are, kind of middling, right? But he's got a high usage rate, high assist rate. He's shooting 39% from 3. He's pretty much good for 4X. He's trusted by Mike White, so I do like that. Jalen Deloach, Probably not yet. We were talking about it a few shows ago. We were just kind of waiting for him to come down right in price, and the minutes are starting to creep up. Started the season injured. Man, this is a guy that I thought was going to be starting for them and putting up big numbers. So I don't think I can do it this time. For the most part, Eric, like Noah Thomason is really the guy that I'm most interested in to go along with Justin Hill. And it feels messy, right? Like you kind of hate these teams that play, you looked up and you're like, why is there 12 guys on the floor within the first 8 minutes? So I don't know, man. What are your thoughts on the two guys up at the top?
Yeah, Messi's a good way to put it, right? And it's like the frustration mounts because you want to go so heavy on the Miami side that you want to have at least a balanced number of Georgia guys on the run back, and it's hard to get there. Noah Thomason, 6.9K. I mean, he's coming off of a 14 spot. He opened the year with a 12 spot. Sandwiched in between is a 33, right? So like the upside is decent for his price tag. His rates look fine, right? Kind of in the low to mid 20s across the board. That rotation is really what's hurting him, right? So like for me, like where you're stacking up the Miami side, Thomason should be in the pool, but he's more of a pivot off the some of the other mid tier guys that we talked about. Sticking here at the top of the pay scale for the Georgia options, you've got Abdur Rahim. He's at 6.5K. A little bit more of a steady floor kind of guy. 20, 25, 28 in his last 3 games. He's relatively shot dependent, right? He's shooting 41% from range so far, so that's why he's getting into these mid 20s. But shooting 41% from range, he still hasn't broken 28, right? And you're looking for a little more than that out of a 6.5K guy. So the price just kind of puts you in a weird spot with him. I mean, if you want to go all the way down, you can go to Blue Cane at 3.9K. I mean, he's out there enough. He got to 24 minutes in that last game. Kind of hovers in the high teens or low 20s. He's not shooting well, but the rates outside of shooting are fairly strong, right? He's one of these kind of stat sheet stuffers, 28% in terms of his shot rate, but 5% block, 3% steal. He's in kind of a weird zone from a price range standpoint too, right? Like, there are guys, and specifically guards, that you can get around this price tag that are going to be on the court more, right? So, Kane, he can be in the run back pool, in the larger field options out there. But yeah, I mean, kind of like you said, like nothing feels all that amazing on the Georgia side.
Yeah, it's just annoying.
That's gotta be Kane. You knew it was coming. Was not going to let that just sneak by. All right, riddle me this, okay, guys? What if you go Omer, Poplar, Joseph, Hill, Deloach, Elvis, Bria? Look how much. There's so much, and then you're going to be able to go back up at the top and get one more. I mean, listen, jamming in the value as much as you can. I was told there would be no math, actually, but either way, I'm just excited about.
I like a 3-1. I'm really looking like Omer with either Pack or Cleveland, and then playing Joseph because Poplar's been so shot dependent. The problem is who do you run it back with? I think for me, it's probably Justin Hill or Noah Thomason, because of the minutes cap on the two Kobe's. I don't know that I can play both of them together because you have Enoch Cheeks and Javon Bennett there. So I'm going to play one of them on 50% of my lineups. But I think where you go from there is you go get Will Baker at 4,200, and then you go over the other side and go get CJ Nolan at 4,200. Now you can probably go up and get Soriano or Deron Holmes. So, yeah, a 3-1 Miami Jays. Now, if you overload this game and it goes way over or it goes into overtime, there's gonna be 2 or 3 Georgia guys that hit. So, yeah, that's the scary part about This is the hammer game too, I think. So like,
well,
yeah,
and I'd love it for it to be Abdur Rahim. And if you recognize that name, yes, that Abdur Rahim. Yeah, that's his daddy, Sharif, of course, the former longtime pro. I think he played like 14 years in the league or something like 12. Yeah. Anyways, obviously basketball genes there, but the man. 0 assists through 3 games. So, you got it kind of, if I'm going to pay 6.5K and hope that he's the guy that goes off, I'm going to need more than just the shots.
If you play him, you're probably going to play Thomason or Justin Hill to get the assist to him because they're the 2 guys with the assist rate. So that's not a bad pairing. The problem is Hill comes off the bench, so you're probably not going to get him as much with Abdur Rahim. So Thomason is that play, but then you're paying for the 2 most expensive guys that could play, be capped at 25 minutes. So yeah, this Georgia side is so dangerous. Like,
it's tough.
I mean, you could get away
the
with
range
they
of
can score
outcomes,
75
right?
points and nobody gets there. Like
the range of outcomes is just so wide, and that's what makes it tough. So mixing in, and that's I was only halfway joking about mixing in all that value earlier, but finding a way to get weird and get heavy in some of these games could win you a tournament. So keep that in mind as we set those lineups. Of course, remember, have them set nice and early, 11:30 a.m. Right, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Is the tip or is the closing or whatever is when it goes off. 11:30, have them set. 8:30 on the West Coast. And where should you start? How about the core 4, baby? We're bringing the core 4 here on One and Done. And we're going to start with the Hurricanes. Bensley Joseph coming in at 5K flat. Going to go ahead and put Bensley Joseph in the core 4. Norchad Omier, as we've been hitting on as well. Probably just going to find him and plug him and try to figure it out from there. Will Baker. Our guy Will Baker has been through Austin, where we are near and dear, and he's been well-traveled around this fine country of college basketball. So we'll plug Will Baker in there at 4K, and then Dennis Jenkins, St. John's, getting a piece of that St. John's game, 7.3K. Now listen, this is the problem when you go to a Georgia guy like Thomason or Abdur Rahim is not being able to afford getting to a Dennis Jenkins. Okay, and that's the tricky game that we play here, right? You could go that with Georgia in the high total game and just not really know because they play so many guys. Or you could, dial it back a little bit, know what you're getting out of Jenkins, and we think he's in for a big evening. Joseph, Omier, Baker, and Jenkins, your core 1, 2, 3, 4, not fifth, fourth, core 4 for the night. Got a comment here late in the show. What do we got going on here? Hopping in the live chat here. Great show. Hey, Mama Rocks Homestead. We appreciate you. Hopping in with us. Make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. Turn on those notification bells. Turn them on. Hey, we got this show in for you guys and gals, of course. DK didn't make it easy on us to get out ahead of this one, but we wanted to make sure we got the early slate in. And we did that for y'all, the Green Screens Media Universe. Talked a lot of different ways to approach this one. Mike, lots of different strategic approaches to take on a short slate like this. Finding ways to get different sometimes is the way to go, and sometimes you just got to play those stars. So why don't we go ahead and close up the DFS side of things and get to the best bets of the night. We like to drop the best bets for y'all, especially for hanging around here live with us up late. It is already Green Screens after dark on the East Coast, hanging out with us late. So, Mike, let's get to you for a couple of betty bets. What are you liking for tomorrow's action?
Yeah, I like me some Providence to cover 1 point against Kansas State. They looked really good against Wisconsin. Kansas State, they need Tomlin, man. I know Carter's look great. Tyler Perry's really good. But outside of those two guys, Providence just comes at you in waves. So I do like Providence to cover there. And then Michigan State, I will have them covering the 8 points at home over Butler. I feel like after, what happened in the first game and then, you go on to play Duke, right? This is a bounce back spot. I feel like those guards are going to play really well. They're at home. I expect them to have a ton of energy and to pull this one off. Eric, give the people another 4 for 4. These games, I believe, don't start until 7 o'clock Eastern. So plenty of time if you're catching this show tomorrow to get these in.
Yeah, a couple of the later slate games, and I like a couple of underdogs as we get into the evening hours on a Friday. Look, Long Beach State, they're getting 15.5 points at Michigan. This feels like the classic look-ahead game for Michigan, right? They're coming off that emotional win over the Red Storm. And Long Beach State, they pulled off the win against DePaul. They kept it close for most of the San Diego State game, right? So I think this one is going to be competitive. I'm happy to take a pile of points, 15.5 with Long Beach State. And then the other underdog that caught my eye, Maryland, getting 6 points at Villanova. These are two teams that are both very talented, but neither of them are playing up to their potential coming in. And Maryland's really needing this big win early in the season, right? So this game, in my mind, is one that's going to come down to the last couple of possessions. Usually when that's the case, it ends up being a bit tighter. So 6 points feels like it is enough to cover that spread and to secure another winning ticket and 4 for 4 with our best bets.
So many games that we talked about today are gonna, probably come down to these last possessions, and that's what we love to see. Some good college basketball and some good DFS play, some green screens. Make sure when you hit those green screens tomorrow on this early slate, you tag us on X and say, @OneAndDone CBB. What it do, baby? We got this bread. That's what we do. We would love to see that. Make sure you do that. And make sure that next time, if you didn't, you hop in the live chat like Corey, Cam, Myron, Mitt, Mama Rocks, Just Fans, Thomas, and Mason did. Salutes to you doing your part in the GSM universe and hopping in that live chat. Make sure you drop a comment, even if you're watching it later on. Let us know if you liked what you saw, and if you did, hit those like and subscribe buttons. Ladies and gentlemen, early slate action. Get those lineups locked and loaded. Thanks for hanging out with us tonight. We appreciate you. Take care of yourself, most importantly. Make sure you tell somebody that you love them today. Let's get this bread, baby.
Thanks for stopping by the office. Get your fantasy prescription by subscribing to the channel and checking out drrodo.com. And until the next visit, be well and take care.